Homeschool. If you're new here, my name is Ashley and I'm a homeschooling mom to one. And in today's video, we're going to do a look inside the novel study, Underground to Canada from Gather Round Homeschool. So we're going to go through what's in the teacher's guide, what is in the middle school notebook. We're also going to look at the writing track that you can purchase. And we're just going to talk a little bit about it so you can get a better idea if this is something you would want to use in your homeschool. Now, before we get started, you can purchase this from the Gather Round Homeschool site. You can get it in print and digital, whichever works for your family. The complete digital bundle, which is going to be your teacher's guide and all the levels, is going to be $39.95, and you would have to print those at home or have those printed. But if you're like me and you only have one student, it doesn't make sense for me to buy the complete digital pack. So I like to purchase the teacher's guide in print and the student notebook in print, and that saves me a little bit of money. Another way that you can save money is to make sure you're a part of the buy-sell trade group that is ran by Gather Round. This is where I picked up the novel itself, the writing track, and the teacher's guide. The only thing I actually purchased from the Gather Round website was the middle school notebook. So if you're looking to save money or you don't need that huge digital bundle, definitely check out their buy-sell trade group or just buy it in print, and that will save you a little bit of money. So let's get started here. So this is the actual novel. You can pick it up from the Gather Round website for only $10. So if you want to make sure you get a copy, you can get it from there. And now we're going to talk about the teacher's guide. Now this is their first novel study mini unit. So we haven't completed one of their novel studies before, so we're really excited about it. Now, I normally do not read the note to the teacher because they're almost always the same. But I did notice that this one was a little bit different, and I think you need to make sure you read it too. This talks about what the older students, the upper elementary through high school, have in them. It talks about the character profiles and the plot chart, and I'll show you all of that. It also talks about how the middle and high school will do a much more in-depth analysis of the novel, which you would expect for your older kids. And it does mention that in the lower level journals or student notebooks, there are only 2 pages. And then in the middle and high school, your student will have 3 pages. So they do point that out. But I do think you really need to make sure you read this paragraph right here. It talks about how if you have the copy that has the introduction by Lawrence Hill, that you need to read that yourself beforehand to understand some of the controversy over this book. So my copy does have that, and I'll show you what it looks like. Introduction by Lawrence Hill. So they do want you to make sure that you read this and understand why this book is controversial. And she goes on to explain a little more in that paragraph. And then this also talks about your student will do a unit project, and they will get to pick between 3 or 4 things. So that is all on that page, and that is very important. This next section is really interesting too if you've never done a novel study from them. So this talks about how the novel study works. It does give you some recommended ages. And then it also talks about a day with a Gather Round novel study. So it tells you, what you'll be doing as the teacher, what your students will be doing. And then this page talks about the teacher's guide. And you'll see as we flip through the lessons, you will have a chapter summary. You'll make predictions. There will be some things you need to know. You'll read from the book, and then you'll have some discussion questions. So it kind of sets up for you how to do this novel study. And then the student notebooks, you're going to have chapter summary, notebooking, vocabulary, comprehension and review, hands-on, and a unit project. And then there are some final thoughts from the author that you will want to read. Supplies, you do need the book by Barbara Smucker. You need pencils, of course. It tells you everything you need right there. Then there is a scope and sequence here. And then you have the table of contents for Underground to Canada. There's also some planning pages if you like to use those. And then there's recommended reading if you need to add optional books to your day. So we're going to look at lesson 1, and then we'll flip to a little bit further in there and just kind of see what's there. So of course, lesson 1, you don't really have a chapter summary because you're just starting. So this does introduce you to this part. There is a prayer. You are going to make some predictions as a family. Here are some things you should know. So it's going to bring up the word racism and racial slur. And you want to read this page, with your kiddos, obviously. Then you're going to read chapter 1, and then you'll have the family discussion about chapter 1. And this gives you some things to discuss. You can always add to it if you want to. And then it's time for the students to go to their notebook. And I will show you real quick what that would look like. So this is my son's middle school notebook. I did pick middle school for him because it does go up to age 15. So after we read, he would come and work in here. So this is his chapter summary. So he would give a name for the chapter. He would talk about the characters, the setting. And this says, turn to the appendix to create character profiles. And I'll show you those at the end. Favorite quote and the page number. You're talking about the plot. And you can add this to the exposition section of your plot chart. And I'll show you that. And then you're going to find a simile in chapter 1 and write the comparison here. So that's something he'll work on. Then he has his list of vocabulary words. And then I love this response journal part. Each day you have an opportunity to write a response to how the chapter you read impacted you. And so this says for him to write a 1 to 2 paragraph journal entry. And there are some prompts of some different things that he can write about. All right, so let's look at the teacher's guide a little bit more. Now, page 1, of course, is going to talk about the chapter summary. So this is going to walk you through the notebooking page that all your children will be working on. So here you're going to talk about the who, the characters, and it tells you for early reader and early elementary what they have, and then your upper elementary and high school. Then you talk about the what, which is the plot, the where and when, which is the setting, and the how. And then for middle and high school only, this is your favorite quote and literary device. And so this explains there what they'll be doing. Then for page 2, vocabulary, this is going to give you the definitions, just in case you need them, in case your kids aren't looking them up or something. You have them right here. All right, so let me show you lesson 2 so you can see what a chapter summary looks like. So you'll start with your prayer, and then you have a chapter summary. Of course, you would want to start with kind of remembering yourself what happened the day before. So asking your kids, what do you remember about what we read yesterday? And you're going to get the thoughts from them. And then if you need some extra information here, you've got this here. Then you're going to make predictions for the next chapter. Here's some things you should know. So it's not as much as what you had the day before. Then you're going to read chapter 2 and you have some things to discuss. And that's when your kids pull out the notebook and then they work on lesson 2's notebook. And you still have the same things here. You can rate it. Like, did you like this chapter? Why or why not? And then you're going through the same type things. But then unit project is mentioned on page 2 here for this day. And so this says, let's start working on our unit project. You have a list of ideas and you just choose one. And we'll look at that really quick too. Let me flip to that. So you can see what that looks like. So in his book, he can choose a project to work on. So he can make a diorama, he can write an essay about racism, or he can write a book report about the underground to Canada. Now, there's a writing track, and I will show you that, and that would go with 3 if that's what he chooses. So there you go. Now, if we go a little further back in the book, let's say we go to lesson 12. So for lesson 12, again, a prayer, a chapter summary, and then your predictions. So that's the same, obviously. Here you're going to read chapter 12 and discuss. You've still got the same type thing here. But the thing that is different is you will have reading comprehension. Now, if you're familiar with the Gather Round units, you know that some of the units include narration questions every 4 lessons. And this is kind of what that is, but these are reading comprehension questions. So every 4 lessons you will have reading comprehension, and it does give you the answers so you can easily check them, and you could use this as a quiz grade if you need to keep grades. So we'll just look through a couple more. As you can see, it's set up the same. What I appreciate about it is it does give me questions in case I can't come up with discussion questions on the fly. I love that. I love the summaries that they provide and the things to talk about. Here's an activity break. So this one says, look up and listen to the song Wade in the Water and think about the hidden warning it has. Then this says, or go to the KennedyCenter.org and look for the article, Harriet Tubman's Secret Messages Through Song. And so this talks about the different code words and phrases and their meanings. And so following those rabbit trails to learn more is going to be so great. Now this one that you should know is really large. This is chapter 15 or lesson 15, your chapter summary for chapter 14. So you would read all of this, read chapter 15, discuss. And so that's pretty much how it is set up. Here you have a choose an activity, and so there's things younger kids can do and older students can do. And of course, you just pick what works for your kiddo. You don't have to do all of these. You just like pick one and go. And they're fun. They're like paint or sketch a scene that depicts what you've learned about the Underground Railroad. This one says create your own secret code that either uses pictures you can draw or words you speak. And so there's a lot of choices here for choose an activity. And that's pretty much how it's set up throughout the entire teacher's guide. So, of course, it does look very different if you've done a full unit or a mini unit. It does look different. So, let's look at the appendix here. So, in the appendix of the teacher's guide, it does talk about an optional family movie night, watching Ruby Bridges. And it gives a ton of discussion questions and then things for the end of the movie. And then there's also a map. Now, let's go to the middle school notebook. Now, of course, they're all levels, and so you'll want to pick the one that's appropriate for your child, but this is the one I have for my son. And so we'll see what it looks like. So there is a note to the student here. And then you've got chapter summary, which you're going to see at the beginning of every lesson, vocabulary, and then a response journal. Lesson 2, you have the chapter summary, the unit project, and then the response journal. So you'll notice the chapter summary is kind of like the notebooking page in the regular units. Response journal and then art. 4 is chapter summary. Here's your reading comprehension, which would be perfect for a quiz if you need to give grades, and I'm going to have to next year for high school, and a response journal. And then this one is a lot like lesson 1 with your vocabulary here. But you'll notice the chapter summary and the response journal is in this middle school notebook every lesson. And I do like it. They're very thought-provoking, and I can't wait to see what my son's answers are to these. Let's go a little further back. Here's lesson 15 and 16. So 16, you've got the same type stuff. You're noticing that those comprehension questions are every 4 lessons. What I did want to show you is the appendix here. This is where you're going to find the plot charts, so as they're keeping up with what's happening in the story. It's back here in the back. You can just rip these out and keep these handy so you're not having to flip to the back of the book. I'll take these out when we use them. And then here's all your character profiles. So when it tells you to work on the characters that you have met in the story, you're going to come back here and work on this. Now, of course, you cannot, at the first day, fill out how this character changed over time. These are things you're going to come back to throughout the story. So I do like these character profile pages. So that is in the back. And let's see if there's anything else. That may be all that is there. So that is the student notebook. And of course, there's more to it, but I didn't want to show you every single page. The last thing I want to show you is the writing track. Now, I do not know if we are going to use this writing track. I went ahead and purchased it because I was interested to see these different writing tracks that Gather Round puts out. This is for if your child chooses to do the book report. So I don't know if that's what my son will pick, but just in case he does, I do have this. And this is, like I said, something I purchased off the Buy Sell Trade group. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is something you will come to every day. So if you just have the student notebook, you only kind of work on the unit project as it comes up in the student notebook. But I think this is here to help you write a strong book report. And so it's something you're going to work on every day. And you might even could use this for another book. I'm not sure. We'll just kind of have to look at it. I'll have to let you know when we're done with the unit how it works out. But it says here, a lot of your planning and organization will happen over in your chapter summaries, your character profiles, and your plot chart. However, there's still space at the bottom at most of the lessons to write quotes that will support your book report ideas here as well. It says, I recommend that you work primarily in your chapter summary, keeping your book report in mind. So this is just supposed to take the pressure off of your writing and make it more manageable and enjoyable. I think they came up with these writing tracks because some people just need a little more help. Sometimes you just need a little more help and instruction when it comes to teaching your kids how to do something. And I think that's what this is for. I do apologize if this video has gotten darker. It's decided to rain and it's like been off and on. So I hope you can still see this pretty good. But lesson 1 is just what is a book report. And then you have things like getting started, the elements of a book report, quotations, the parts of a book report, types of writing, the writer's voice, paragraphs, writing good paragraphs, context, defending your opinion, writing an outline, outline headings, outline details, write your introduction, write your body, write your conclusion, edit and proofread. And then you have your presentation. So this really is that teaching part that was kind of missing from some of their projects. And so if you want something like that, I could see where this would be very helpful. And then in the appendix here, let's check out that. Here's a level 1 book report outline, level 2, level 3. And then there's some writing paper, different writing lines for whatever you may need. So that's the writing track. Again, I don't know if that's something we're going to use. We'll just have to see. Not really sure. So if you have any questions about Underground to Canada or anything about Gather Round Homeschool, you can definitely leave those in the comments below. I love to chat about it. It's my passion. I love unit studies. Just leave them in the comments and I will definitely get to you. Be sure to check out the buy, sell, trade page from Gather Round. That's on Facebook. It's a great way to get their curriculum for a little bit cheaper. And as always, thank you so much for watching.